Hey church, this week on Ask a Pastor, we talked about why should someone read the Old Testament? We get that question a lot, that from Christians. They say we should just focus on the New Testament and not worry about the Old Testament. So how, as we as Christians, as leaders, as pastors, how can we encourage someone to read the entire Bible? Well, for me and what we discussed, the obvious reason is if I were to recommend any book to anyone, and let's say it had 20 chapters in it, I wouldn't just say focus on chapters 11 to 20. I would tell them to read the entire book. It seems like the Bible is the only one where we say just focus, just read the New Testament. But the Old Testament is so rich in information on who God is. So that's the first reason, is I would recommend for anybody to read any book, the entire book. Another reason is God's will. God has three wills. God has his comprehensive will, God has his moral will, and God has his personal will for our lives. We as Christians tend to focus on God's personal will for us. And oftentimes when we just do that we focus on the New Testament when he's revealed to us in these days, but we confuse it, we skew it. And oftentimes what we see as our personal will is a good job, good family, good kids, health, comfortable finances, nice house, all of those things. Which job to choose, where to move to, is how we look at our personal will. And that's because we forget to look at God's comprehensive and moral will. And all of that can be found in the Old Testament. God's plan of redemption for our lives, for humankind, begins in the Old Testament with creation. The covenants that he established with man, and his plan for redemption from start to the end for our eternal salvation with him in heaven. So that's God's comprehensive will, and he lays it out the entire Bible. Now, God's moral will, that's God's character, that's his attributes. And we see all throughout the Old Testament God's attributes and his character as he begins to reveal them to man, and man begins to reveal them throughout the ages. So it's important to understand God's comprehensive and moral will before we look at our personal will. So that's one good reason to read the Old Testament.